Welcome back to Punching Up. I am your host, Maya May. We're going to be talking about racist jokes today. Is it racist? Is it a joke? Is it a racist joke? The problem that we have is with the racism, not the joke itself. And so I thought it would be really important at this moment in time to convene a group of some of my favorite comedians so we can talk about it, because the name of this show is Punching Up. And part of that means is punching up to power, not punching down on marginalized groups. And so what we've seen this week is a weaponization of comedy that has completely upended this election cycle in a way that I think many people are still reeling from, but not actually talking about. And so as a comedian myself, I feel that comedy has a ton of power. And so we're going to talk about it. And with that, I'm going to bring in my guest tonight, my panelists. We have Nate Craig, hailing from the great state of Wisconsin, natecraig.com. You can find him there. He's going to be speaking on behalf of white men everywhere.
Of course, every time I open my mouth.
That is exactly what we're hoping you can redeem the white comics, because I'm a little concerned, and so we need that. We need you to step in and help.
Easy. I will try my best to redeem one white comic that we'll be talking about, but the rest of them are, we're fine.
We're going to throw them out with the garbage, since that's the word of the day.
I don't know if I can go along with this, but sure. Yes.
Okay. All right. I can't wait. Then we're going to bring in our next guest, because I feel like we're about to have a really good conversation about this. Clark Jones, hailing from the state of Illinois, but now in LA and formerly New York as well. Hi, Clark. Welcome to Punching Up.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
Yeah, I'm glad that you are here, because I was like, we have some talking to do. And I know you've posted about what's going on this week. And so I was like, I think Clark's going to have some stuff to say about Tony Hinchcliffe, but also just comedy and politics in general.
Yeah. No, this has been, yesterday was kind of interesting in that I posted a joke. That was my challenge, because a lot of people don't know what that is, it appears. So my challenge was like to take the thing that, because there's a lot of emotional replies to it and all of them are valid, but I just tried to say, can I make a joke right now that really kind of put some levity on the topic, that's on topic, and still mentions Puerto Ricans and doesn't cause the potential disaster of a whole campaign, like if they would have said.
That's a lot of thought that has to go into, am I about to do something that's going to end my career? And with that, I want to bring in Janice Rodriguez, producer of Las Locas, hailing from Chicago, Puerto Riqueña as well. So
representing everyone of all the people.
So let's actually just start off with, we all saw the bit, but maybe if someone was living under a rock, they didn't see the Tony Hinchcliffe bit. So I want to elephant in the room, let's just roll the clip really quickly, and then we can chat about it.
This is killing you.
I know. It's just
these Latinos, they love making babies too. Just know that. They do. There's no pulling out. They don't do that. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. That's a cool black guy with a thing on his head. What the hell is that, a lampshade? I'm just kidding. That's one of my buddies. He had a Halloween party last night. We had fun. We carved watermelons together. It was awesome.
What the?
First of all, I don't get the lampshade joke. What, Clark, Is there a thing that black people do? We do a lampshade thing?
No, I don't think. I think that was the one thing that was off the cuff. And I don't know, like, people wear a lot of weird things to the MAGA rally, so I don't even know. I would have to see exactly. It might have just been a bucket hat. Like, it might have
it was a bucket hat.
It was a bucket hat.
It was a bucket hat, yeah. So he had to make that a thing.
I mean, these are people who put, like, maxi pads on their ear a couple weeks ago. You know what I mean? So, like...
it's a lot of... Yeah.
It could have been an actual lampshade.
Right. It could have been.
Like, what's crazy off the top is that at a roast, those jokes would have bombed. You know what I mean? Like
Why so?
they weren't even, they wouldn't even be good enough at a roast.
Mhm.
So it's like that's the other layer. Speaking from a comedian side of like,
I agree with you. I don't know how any of those jokes made it out of his notebook.
Yeah, they just weren't
Wow.
funny.
Imagine a
This is what
teleprompter.
I'm saying. It just wasn't funny.
Okay.
Like,
Well, and when as comedians, when we analyze stuff, at least I do, I analyze it for like joke structure, but then also like, was it worth it to tell this joke? Right. And so to me, like there was joke structure there, but there wasn't anything interesting, game changing, different. And so it's like, it just existed to be offensive. So sometimes I'm offended by lazy comedy as well.
Yeah, it's pretty lazy. I mean, it is. There's a new kind of humor that's a step below roast comedy that I'm noticing, and I think this is kind of emblematic of, and it's troll comedy, and that is like lower than, roast jokes are just insert cultural reference with current event and combine the two, and it's paint by numbers. There's mimicry, there's puns. Those are also like very base, simple, childish, low-level forms of comedy. But troll comedy is kind of almost, it feels like done for the response. So that then the discussion after in the blast zone is no longer the joke that you told that was poorly written and, 90% racism. It is now you're upset about a joke that I told? Well, aren't you a humorless asshole that doesn't even deserve to be in this conversation? And that is like that to me is, as a comedian, is the most offensive part, because dog, for whatever reason, his podcast just sold out Madison Square Garden twice. Like, he's been on that stage. You had a packed Madison Square Garden to make him laugh and be like, I'm going to go ahead and run the risk of getting kicked off this podcast. I think the watermelon joke works because you could carve a watermelon. Other than that,
Wait a second. I was like, okay, now, Nate.
It's juicy like this watermelon.
I still got my comedy hat on.
I was like, Clark, you go first, then me. I was like, we will tag team this one.
Yeah.
I was like,
I'm gonna bounce out of this
one.
Bring me when the Puerto Ricans come back in. Okay.
I talked for so long, I got kicked off the podcast.
No.
You had one job. No.
You were supposed to be redeeming the white comic, not making it worse.
Well, what I was going to say was the worst joke that he told, which again was just like kind of like a premise, was like the welcome Latinos with open arms, and then he just kind of like waves them away kind of thing. And I was just like, wow, man, that's, I mean, you've been a comedian for over 2 decades,
right.
That guy. Like,
it was
what are you doing?
It was a topical joke on a topic that isn't even in the news. Like, nobody was talking about Puerto Rico yesterday on Saturday. Yeah. And even the thing that he might have been referencing was like from 2020. That's another thing with topical humor. Like, it should be on topic or at least current. You know what I mean?
Right. At least get like a J-Lo Diddy joke in there. You know what I'm saying? If you want to get
anything. Diddy would have been New Yorker, Madison Square Garden.
Right.
Yeah, and Janice, for the people who don't understand that, like, it's like, when you're making that current reference, can you talk about it? Because it's like there's so many ways to do a joke that's potentially offensive, but do it in a way that's not offensive. It's not like we're saying you can't talk about Puerto Ricans, or are we? I don't know. What are we saying?
I'm feeling like we can't right now. Hey, leave us alone, damn it. Pick on somebody else now. I don't get it. You're in New York. There's tons of Puerto Ricans. We are Americans. We are voting. So I didn't get it. We're not immigrants. So if you want to talk this whole immigration issue, and I'm sorry, that's a whole other thing. But like, I don't know who the enemy is now. Just everybody? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know anymore. I'm so confused. Go ahead, Clark. I'm sorry.
A lot of the audience a lot of people, at least from comments that I see on Twitter, people don't even realize that Puerto Rico, like, is a part of America. Like, people don't realize that. And I think
we're still a colony, yes.
Yeah. But Clark, go ahead. You're saying...
It's high risk, high reward. Like, the joke has to be that good. Like, he ran that joke at a comedy club in New York. And how funny is it that, like, you're the comedy club where people the go-to comedy club for racist humor? It's like, what's the good place where I could work this out? And they do it. Yeah. Like that's the reputation. I ain't gonna name it. You know what I mean? We are what we are. We still shit. But
We're still trying to get books.
we still trying to get booked. Right. We still trying to get booked. Not to say that whatever. It's just I'm focused.
But can't one be funny? Like, because I see a lot of comedians who complain now oh, everybody's so sensitive. But to me, I'm like, you can be funny without being racist, and to not be able to be funny without being racist, to me, just says you're not funny. So like,
yeah, that was my problem with that joke is that I'm guessing that almost a majority of the people did not get the floating Pacific garbage patch reference. So what carried the joke was just calling Puerto Rico a pile of garbage, which means that if you didn't need to make the reference, then how hard is the joke to write?
Mm-hmm.
Also, wrong ocean, dude. Like, we're in the Caribbean Sea. I don't know. There's so many things that don't. Sorry, I like accuracy in my jokes, like a little bit. It just wasn't smart and it wasn't funny. Right. So at that point, to me, it's just offensive, and you did it on purpose because you're in New York.
Just to be total nerds about it, he did not say Pacific.
Okay. But he did say in the ocean, and I'm like, it's the Caribbean Sea. You know, I mean, I don't know. This is my geographic.
Oh yeah, I like that. I like the.
Right,
it was a sea. It was not an ocean. Good point.
Right.
Accuracy matters to me too, though. Like I've had people come up to me after shows and say, "By the way, that joke is not historically accurate," and I'm like, "Oh, now do I need to change this joke because that one person out of maybe 100 spotted like the inaccuracy in it?"
No, you don't. No, you don't. You lie in the joke to make the joke work, as long as it's not disrespectful or as long as it doesn't shift the truthfulness of the comedy. I feel like I have a joke. Vladimir Putin said it's easier to fool a man than it is to convince a man he's been fooled. Vladimir Putin did not say that. Mark Twain said that, but I say that Vladimir Putin said it so that the people that need to hear it will listen. It has not been proven that Mark Twain said that. They don't.
They always say attributed to, right?
Yeah.
The internet thinks that Mark Twain said that, but nobody knows for sure if he said that or not. I don't give a flying fuck. The idea of the reason for the joke is to talk about people listening to anything that comes out of Vladimir Putin's mouth and with complete disregard to the accuracy of.
So you revealed that it's. And now it's like comedy class.
Right.
I know everybody's like,
I'm taking notes.
You say that at the end that he didn't say that?
Nope.
But then I think there's something even funny in that. And that would make it even, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, to be fair, I don't know if Mark Twain did or did not say that. Nobody can prove it.
Right.
But I have had people clap back at me in comments being like, Mark Twain didn't say that. Mark Twain didn't say that. And I'm just like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And how do you know, right?
I like this Nate I don't give a fuck Craig that we're getting
he really
on the show tonight.
I wish it was an act, but don't let the hot tub.
No, I know it is an all the time thing. So we're talking about forms of comedy, roasting, and now this lower form, trolling. So like to me, roasting comes from like the dozens. Like it's supposed to be about building a community. Like you're supposed to be able to roast your friends. Like that's part of the fun of being a comic is, at least for me, like that's how you realize you're funny is when you're with a group of friends and making jokes. Mm-hmm. So there's something in the way he did this that it wasn't like Puerto Ricans were included in the joke. And so can we talk about
there sitting on stage with them, like with flags, like, yeah. You know, like no, it's just me. I don't know. It just wasn't fun. I'm gonna start with the premise. It just wasn't funny. Uh-huh. So at that point, it's just insulting. And at that point, now you have no relationship to the community. So now it's just racist. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what else to say. Again, I know there's a lot of people online not agreeing with me, and he's a comedian, so he's protected, and we should appreciate all the arts and no censorship. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's a clear line. I think there's been other times when there hasn't been, but this one I'm just like, that was just a punch down, like a way punch down, and I don't know what the purpose was.
I mean, I just don't think he has maybe he does, but he didn't show the charm to build up to the reversal. Do you know what I mean? Like, hey, Puerto Ricans live here. Hey, Puerto Rico's a floating pile of trash. Like,
Right.
there was
You're still not making it better, Clara. I get what you're saying.
No,
there was nothing to get there. Yeah.
Like, there was no I love whatever,
right.
no shout out to give them the audience a false sense of, and then come with the punchline. It was very much like, damn, bro, like, this is what it's like when you don't have a bunch of writers, like the Brady roast. Yeah. This is different when it isn't a 12-person team behind you. You got to call 50 Cent said he couldn't do it. Somebody else bailed. Like, all right, get Tony Hinchcliffe up on the plane. You got to work it out at the stand real quick. It didn't work, but you don't know how to write jokes, so you just went with whatever you wrote in Delta Hub or whatever. Sometimes it's just like, damn, I can't freestyle because I'll really say something stupid.
It's the joke he wrote right before takeoff that is freaking hilarious.
That's what it felt like. It had no like, yo, okay, I'm a real joke writer feel to it. Like, we could just, it didn't pass that sniff test of like, this is I know what I'm doing.
I agree. And so if for you guys, what is the like, because some people say a joke just needs to be funny, that's it. For me, I want more from my humor. Like, for you personally, and anybody can answer this, but like, for you personally, what drives your comedy? Like, what's the purpose behind what you say when you get up on stage?
Wow, I want it to be smart. I don't know. I do want it to be smart. I don't want it to be like, I want it to be something you haven't heard before. I mean, we're all talking about similar premises, right? So, what is it about your perspective, your experience that is different that you can share with people? That's mine. But
yeah, for me too, I feel like if I have one chance to be on a stage in front of everybody, like I always try to think like, what if this is the last joke I say, or what if this is the last set I have? What do I want to leave with these people? And the fact that he decided that's what he wanted to leave people with, not saying that that's how he thinks about comedy, but I'm like, wow, you have this big platform and this is what you did with it?
Well, and that's the thing about trolling, right? Like, the audience is with him. And that's an uncomfortable position for troll comedians. You know what I mean? Like, when you're trying to just, say something to rile everybody up and they're just going to laugh anyway. That's not the format. Like, when you're trying to troll on the Kamala Harris post or trying to troll on the Trump post, the key is that you're coming in as a visitor or an enemy, right? So I don't think a troll comedian can be in an environment where he's totally, like, I've seen it at certain festivals, and it's just not as funny when the crowd is with them. It just doesn't hit as hard when they, like, I was picking up check at a club one time.
If people were, sorry, Clark, but if people were rooting for Andy Kaufman to beat women in wrestling, it would have not been as fun.
It don't. I ain't gonna say it don't hit the same because we bad time. We got it. We don't need to be the trending topics. But yeah, it doesn't work the same way, and like the joke has to be even. And to your question, my motivation is to say something that isn't what they expected me to say, or elevated to a much funnier, higher place than what they thought I would talk about. When I do my musicals jokes, like, people are like, "Oh, where are we going with this?" He got on a gold chain.
Well, like, taking people on a journey. You want to take people on a journey, like, and be memorable. Like, I mean, obviously he's memorable, but not in the way perhaps that he would want to be. But like,
you know what's funny is like when I first started comedy, like I remember really, really thinking about, okay, how do I not get pigeonholed as a Latina comedian? How do I make sure I take my experience, but also go beyond stereotypes? Because some of the first stuff I wrote was it was like what he said. It was very, not that garbage part, of course not, but they have a lot of kids, bada boom boom. You know what I mean? And it's just like, that's just like already a common trope. And it's just like, if you're going to go there, it'd have to be really, really funny. And again, it's just like, he just made a statement. There wasn't a joke there. And I guess it's just been done before. We get it. Latinos do tend to have a lot of children, but so do other groups in America.
I was like,
I get, but we're here. Like, yeah, I make it make sense. I don't know. So I guess I'm just not offended by it in that sense, because I'm like, oh, okay, like we've heard it before. I've heard a lot of Latino comedians as they're starting kind of do that, work it out their system, and move on. You know what I mean? So again, different when we do it, I guess. But
that's that. Yeah, it's like self-deprecating versus attacking a marginalized group for sure.
But can I just add on to that real quick? The thing that's been kind of going back and forth is like their retort has been the George Lopez joke about Mexicans at Kamala's thing, and the pushback was like, well, he's Mexican, he's allowed to do that. Like, do y'all buy into that? That it can be offensive if it's coming from the group that the person is a part of?
I think it's important for people to own their own experience. And so for me, if you're writing from your own experience in your space, in your heart, then that's completely the prerogative of that comedian. I think for me, it's when we're trying to, like, especially like I hear every time I would go to a mic for like years, it was like there were just trans joke after trans joke after trans joke. And it was like the person on stage rarely had any connection to the trans community and was just trying to jump on the latest trend and try to get a cheap joke. And to me, that was like, it would be unnerving. But then I heard comics that would actually own what it meant. Like, I think Marcela Arguello has a great joke about being tall and people mistaking her for being trans. And she has a joke about that. And so she personalizes it and takes it to her own experience. And that way it's not offensive. So I think it's about, owning what is your experience.
For sure.
So shifting gears a little bit, like I want to talk about politics and how politics now uses comedy. Like, you can't exist as a politician right now, it seems, without having comedians on your writing staff, comedians doing strategy for you. It feels like comedy rules. And so, like, why don't we I feel like we should all be making bajillions of dollars working on all these campaigns. Are you, I guess I'm like, not even are you surprised, but like, what's your take on the fact that now, like, what should be serious has become comical?
Well, we're modern day philosophers.
Tell me more, Clark.
Well said, Clark. Well said.
I'm more shocked at like the validation of podcasts in this, how politicians have validated podcasts this year to such a large degree. Mm-hmm. It's the value is in ears. The value is in views and eyes being on something. If you can do that, then anybody's going, especially a politician, is going to come and be seen. Just be seen, and that's the currency. And we throw the comedian label on a lot of podcast hosts, but they are not. We throw journalists on it. We validate anything that is monetized. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. People are not journalists. Definitely not comedians,
right?
But we don't have another label for it that makes it sound real and should be trusted in a certain way.
Yeah, you bring up like we all laughed at the modern day philosopher, but like it's true in the sense that to be a comedian, you have to be a good observer. You have to be an observer of things, and so we're sitting back in the cut, making connections, looking at different ideas and then trying to interpret our worldview, put our worldview and our spin on different things. And so I don't think you're too far off. It's almost like this converging of timelines in a way. And that's why I get concerned when I see comedy being weaponized, because to me, comedy could be that great unifying force. It's that thing that helped for me. Like when I'm writing a joke, I'm like, how can I tell this so that somebody who is completely different from me can have a better understanding of my perspective? How can I build empathy using comedy? And I used to tour a lot on college campuses. And so I'd go to very conservative schools and I'd get very like anxious at first about doing the exact same set at a conservative school as I would at a more liberal school. But the more I got into it, I recognized like as long as I had that set up, And as long as I built that rapport with the audience, by the end, they were with me, and I could say things that maybe I couldn't come out and say right at the gate. And so in that way, it was like a way to connect people. And so to me, I feel like we're missing out on what comedy could do if we're using it purely to just attack.
Yeah. Anybody else want to?
It's been used in politics for a long time now. I mean, that was, Jon Stewart came back to the Daily Show. It's been around for a long, long time and been very, very big. It's bigger than ever, though. I mean, I don't know if we should all be rich working for a campaign, but more people than ever are touring. So people value comedy in a way that they haven't. I think it's probably got something to do with how kind of exasperating it is to try to find real information on our screens. And so if you come out and see somebody, you that's one way to verify that you're dealing with a human being, and comedy is comedy. So it's like, I don't know, it's just kind of slid right into a place that is pretty incredible. There's more arena comics than ever. I get to open for Bill Burr sometimes in these massive venues. And I mean, people are just dying for somebody to kind of just, weed through all the carcinogens and just like, boil shit down to just stuff that human beings care about. And on a large scale is my point. 15,000 people at a time. And at least then it's, the comedy stands on its own. I think that regardless of whether or not anything that Tony Hinchcliffe would have said at a roast, whether or not it would have worked or could have worked with a couple extra words or in the right context, a couple, maybe 6-10 jokes before it to build up some equity in the room. That's all besides the point. Where he really loses there is the context. He's at a campaign rally. He's essentially Tucker Carlson. Like Clark said, he's as much a comic as Tucker Carlson is a journalist at that point. Most of the shit that came out of his mouth wasn't even, well, not most, but I mean, I couldn't stand watching. I honestly didn't even make it to the watermelon joke until you guys showed it to me, because I couldn't take it. After 5 minutes, half the stuff he's saying up there is, I can sleep at night knowing who I'm going to vote for. It's a shame what they did to LA. I've traveled the world. It's a shame what they did to San Francisco. You're bailing on your career in a way there. I mean, not that that's going to hurt him at all, but you're bailing on your identity as a comic, I feel like, if you're going to waste time giving away the answers. I used to be way more, here's what I think, and here's a clever way to make you agree with me politically on stage. And that shit's just that's boring. What's exciting to me now, or at least to try to do, if and when I can do it, is to entertain an audience and have them not know where the fuck I stand.
Yeah, I think that neutrality is intriguing. And then that way you can do your comedy in Tulsa and New York. You know what I mean? I thought that was kind of always what we were supposed to do as modern day philosophers, Clark, was just to try to reach as many people as possible. And now I feel like he's going to be like a right-wing comedian. Or, I mean, again, maybe he won't get affected at all and his bookings go up 5 million %. But I mean, I don't know. I thought that was, again, our job was to, I don't know. I just don't think we're supposed to entertain people and try to reach as many people as possible. I felt like it's definitely a polarizing thing to do.
His personal appearance money is going to go through the roof. And
yeah,
you better get real comfortable throwing softballs at petroleum executives.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I'm like, so Kyle Rittenhouse's personal appearance money went up too, and so it's there's always somebody who's willing to pay for somebody who will sell their soul. Like, that's always going to be a market. But back to so one thing that struck me about this cycle is the way Kamala Harris's campaign used her campaign statements. I'm like, this is one of the first times that I've seen a campaign. I wanted to print every single one out that came up. They cracked me up. They're so funny. I was I want to put them on postcards. I want to frame them. Because a press person didn't write this, or did they?
Yeah, it reads like an Onion headline, right?
Yeah, they definitely did. Yeah, they hired somebody who knew how to troll on the internet.
I mean, out the gate from when Weird started, it was like it's on. We going about this in a different way, to 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 get the message across in a way that is also interested in going viral. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what comedy does. That's what cleverness does.
Mm-hmm.
And they went that route out the gate instead of just, which also I think perturbed the other side because they're like, we supposed to be the funny. We got comedy right now. We're the
Right.
funny people. We got edgelords. We got they're not funny. Like somehow, like Republicans and Democrats switched from the '90s where the Republicans used to be all, and they
I'm glad you brought that up. Have you guys seen this book?
a book.
It's a book. It's
what is this thing you speak of?
That's not so. I'll be honest, I haven't actually read it. It's been on my bookshelf since last year when I said, I'm going to read this book. But it's all about the rise of right-wing comedy, the rise of the Gutfelds of the world. And because like his show gets more eyeballs, when we're talking about podcasts, etc., his show gets more eyeballs than any of the leading, quote unquote, liberal woke comics. And so that all of a sudden opens up this possibility that, oh my God, there's a world where people are living in a completely alternate reality.
That's not true. Gutfeld does not get more viewers than Colbert.
I don't think he gets more. I'd have to go back into the one page that I flipped to because there was a page in here. You should have seen me before. I was like, I'm going to find a quote in this book and we're going to talk about it. And I want to bring the authors of this onto the show. But Gutfeld gets like a ton of viewers. I don't know that it's more than Colbert, but I think it actually might be. I'm like, Sam, Google it.
Sam Google. I mean, it's obviously he's competing with people in, basic cable as opposed to network television. But I don't know what the gap is between those two categories is anymore. But I'd be astounded if he got more viewership than Kimmel or Colbert or anything like that. But maybe the Daily Show, that'd be wild if Gutfeld gets more viewers weekly than the Daily Show does. That would surprise me.
But don't forget, it's on a news network, so people are already watching for the news potentially.
Yeah.
And
right.
Just, all of a sudden Gutfeld's on, and they just okay, I guess.
Yeah, Comedy Central doesn't have Brian Williams or anything on.
And Comedy Central, Ren and Stimpy episodes, which and then all of a sudden the Daily Show.
Daily Show's on, right?
And we don't even know who the host is going to be day to day on the day. So like, there's no lead in.
Well, okay. But I mean, to your point,
2.8 million daily viewers on that shit show. That is the worst television show I have ever heard that many people watch on a daily basis.
It don't have to be funny because they've, like the book is probably saying, they've just taken that identity after. I think the Obama effect was Democrats are these smart elitists, these uptight people because Harvard, Columbia, both of them went to Harvard. Damn, a black couple, y'all both went to Harvard. That's like what is that's going to cause a damn shift. You know what I mean? So whether it's something actually funny or people are actually working, we're going to adapt this identity as the funny side since they're the smart side. In the 90s, the other side was the smart bow tie wearing side, and we were the funny side. And Jon Stewart took off because of it. You get people to buy into a label, identity, and then you just work the hell out of it.
It's the broader view of, in my opinion, how troll comedy made it off the screen. In writing, on Twitter, in the comments, fighting with a stranger. That's where I was first aware of trolling somebody. But then when it made it into comedy, I think it was a backlash to, what do you mean I can't make fun of Barack Obama because he's black? You can't take a joke. You people are humorless. And then years and years and years and years and years of that, then, we can laugh at anything. And I'm going to be honest with you, and this may just be me as a white dude, but for a while there, because I always, when Trump got elected the first time, the 2016, was one of the worst years for comedy, in my opinion, touring. Around 2018, that switched. And those Republican crowds, you could say anything. You could tell them to go fuck themselves to their face. They'd laugh
like,
and cheer, and they'd put their
right.
feet up. We laugh at everything. We laugh at everything. It became part of their identity.
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, how long can you put on that act? Because I don't really believe that you're in it for the humor.
Yeah.
I think you're in it for the racism.
Exactly.
That's the
point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's the point. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is literally it. Because it's like, it's not that we can't take a joke. We can't take a bad joke, and we can't take racism. Those two things together.
Yeah,
also, we know Puerto Ricans. Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not gonna tell you your joke sucks because I have a bad sense of humor. My sense of humor is overwhelmed by my sense of pandering fucking bigotry. So suck my dick. I got Puerto Rican friends.
Yeah.
And he said it. Thank you, white man, for speaking. I appreciate it.
Yes. Well,
no, you said it. That was
you have redeemed. You have done what you came here for, Nate Craig, and you have redeemed the white comic. We are so grateful.
Points for Nate Craig.
It was rough out.
I'm like, we forgive you. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't like being here to redeem the white comic.
You weren't supposed to be. So that's the thing. You weren't supposed to be.
That's a part of it.
Here to talk
Feeling bad is a part of it.
He's like, that wasn't in the booking email.
It wasn't.
We actually want to see you feel bad.
Yeah, that makes me feel good.
Okay.
Is that wrong?
But I think to the point though, like I was like, it's important to me that people see how comics talk amongst ourselves, because like this is to me what a real conversation in a green room would kind of sound like. They're not filtered. We're not worrying about offending each other per se. We're just like putting our thoughts out there and kind of going back and forth, right?
Yeah, we calling out comedy clubs. I've said I'm not gonna name names, but they don't fuck with me no way. And I just really feel like certain places, man, and this is what's gonna happen with Tony. I've seen it with like not being able to control a mob mentality. Like they're like you were saying, they only gonna want that now. Yeah. They're only gonna want red meat. Once you expose a baby to, soda, they gonna crave.
Who's giving baby soda? Why was that the first metaphor?
Like, oh,
it's a bottle. In the bottle, yeah.
What the fuck is this crack? This liquid crack. So once you expose and say like, because they're like, oh, well, we're gonna laugh no matter what it is because we are supportive and we just. I was picking up a check from a comedy club and Louis C.K. went on. Who I've always really, really loved him, but I saw the crowd stand up for him. And that was so different than people who just wanted to laugh used to do, where he had to be this freedom of speech representative because they're like, no, we're here to support you because they tried to cancel you. So anything you say, we're going to they were clapping for Louis C.K. jokes. I was just like, man, that's not what he got into this for. I know that has to kind of suck.
Well, yeah,
right.
I mean, that's true because it's like this idea that now anything, you don't have to work hard to be funny anymore. You start to almost goes into a space where you're like, if everything that I say people love and laugh at, all of a sudden the craft disappears and I like a sense of disillusionment, I'm sure, which is why you end up people having specials that sound like open mics because nobody could look at them and say, hey, that's not funny. And the normal way of learning from the audience is no longer informative to you because everything you say is amazing.
Well, this is like the growth also and like a outgrowth of the whole TikTok thing and everything. Like I've been to clubs where the person after us sold out 4 shows and I'm like, who are they? And it's some guy who does, sketches. And I'm like, how is he a stand-up now? Because he wasn't a stand-up before at all. And I'm not taking anything away from this person, but I'm like, I didn't stay for the show, so I probably should have. But, it's like,
you probably should not have.
Exactly. But I'm like, did you hire? I hope he hired a writer because I'm like, how does what you do all recorded and edited? How is this going to translate to the stage? He's like doing an hour. I'm like, sir, so. But he sold it out, and that's what the clubs are doing now. The clubs are booking Stormy Daniels, and It's like, okay, get your paper. I mean, I guess, but so the whole thing's changing. So I don't know.
That's going to be your quote for the show. Get your paper, I guess. That's what comedy has become now. Is like, get your paper, I guess.
Like,
they should be called internet clubs. A lot of them, like, they should, because it's not. I mean, we're not talking about, like, let us not lose track of. Yes, there's a lot of, the market is flooded. There's too many people doing stand-up comedy.
Mm-hmm.
We should not lose track of how hard it is to do stand-up comedy. And if, like, comedy clubs calendars are dominated by clicks on the internet, which only really resonate and do numbers and make more and more numbers and more traffic based on 15 fucking seconds. Well, then what do you want to see, America? There should be straight up internet clubs, and comedy clubs can be, 100-seaters.
Yeah.
I was like, I hate this idea for us, Nate. I'm now very sad. We're going to have to redeem again. My goodness. We got to start all over.
Dig out of that hole. I believe you, man.
Hey, man, I'm not here to redeem the comedy industry. I'm as mad at it as you guys are. I'm out there looking at this shit every time I travel.
So. Yeah.
Oh man.
Comedy clubs don't do shit anymore as far as marketing. They will post 5 times a day that Kevin Hart's gonna be there, because he need that. But, like, I'm coming.
Right.
They ain't saying. They may collab on a post at most.
At most.
Yeah.
So, guys, we're wrapping up here. I know this, and I've enjoyed this conversation, because I really do feel like through comedy we can actually get to a better place as a country, and so I think it's important to involve as many comedians in the conversation, especially because we're driving so much of the narrative, we're driving so much of the messaging that we're seeing out there. To Lori's point, that we can even shift the course of an election, and so, as the modern day philosophers and storytellers, I'm glad that y'all could join me tonight, and hopefully we can do this again soon. I just want to make sure that we're promoting all of the stuff that you guys are doing. Nate, you're going to be in Chicago at the Lincoln Lodge.
Well, that's in January. I'll be in Wisconsin and all over the Midwest.
Nice.
In December and January, Madison, Wisconsin at the Majestic Theater on December 27th. And then I got Milwaukee and Louisville in January, as well as the Lincoln Lodge on the 3rd and 4th. Oh my God, that's my favorite club and my favorite
so great.
Yeah,
last night.
Great.
Example of a great club that supports people.
But it's because by comedians for comedians, right?
Yep.
And so that's why that is. And Janice, you have let's get your thing back up there. There it is.
My last name's spelled wrong. Come on, guys. You put the Puerto Rican on the
Get it off. Get it off there. We're sorry.
It's a G instead of a Q. All good. It's a very common thing. It's a very old colonial Spanish way of spelling it.
Oh,
it's the spelling of my colonizers.
Damn. That's
forgive us.
Tony wrote it.
Different
Tony
white guy
Hitchcliff wrote it. Yeah, sales check VR speaks. All good. I produce Las Locas Comedy. We're the first Thursday of the month. Chingona Comedy Hour at Laugh Factory, Chicago. Just finished producing the Latina Comedy Festival, coming back next year in 2025. So just follow me. I'll be out here trying to get on tour, get on these streets, and make this paper, I guess.
And make the paper.
Yeah.
And Clark, you've got stuff coming up. Are you going to be in Black Church Comedy Show? There it is. That's in LA.
Yeah.
11/12. The election will have already happened at that point.
And counted by then, I hope.
Right.
Is
it like a Gore Bush thing? I hope it'd be great.
I was having so much fun, I forgot that there's an election.
Right? No, our show's next Thursday, and I was like, I don't know, are we crying? What are we doing? Like, should we just turn into like a therapy session? Who knows? I have no idea what's going to happen. It's only 2 days after, so
it'll be a victory party. He's about to get washed.
Yes, that is what I'm leaning into as well. So thank you so much, y'all. Everybody, find them on the socials, and I'm sure I will see you guys out here soon. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. All right.
So that's it. That's been our show for tonight. The next time I see you, we're going to have an election that's already going to be wrapped up. And that means over the next several days, you've got to be doing all of the things. Don't think just because it's like locked down or locked up in your state that you can just sit out the rest of no. I need you phone banking, canvassing, especially on the swing states. I'm headed to Nevada this weekend to knock on doors, even though I'm an introvert and I hate knocking on people's doors. I do want to live in a democracy, so I'm going to do that. So there you have it. I'm excited. I do feel good. I'm feeling optimistic, and optimism is free, so I feel like why the fuck not? So thanks for joining me, and take care of yourselves this weekend, and we will see you next Wednesday with hopefully good news.